My boyfriend thought acting cold would make me obsessed with him. I introduced him to his replacement. Jake and I had been dating for 8 months when he suddenly changed his entire personality overnight. We'd gone from texting constantly and spending every weekend together to him barely acknowledging my existence. At first, I thought maybe he was stressed about his new job or having family problems he didn't want to discuss, but the change was too abrupt and too complete to be natural. One day, we were planning a romantic weekend trip to the coast, picking out restaurants and booking a hotel room. The next day, he was giving me one-word responses and canceling our plans without explanation. When I asked what was wrong, he'd just shrug and say everything was fine, but his eyes had this weird, calculating look. The strange part was how systematic it all felt, like he was following some kind of detailed script instead of actually experiencing emotions. He'd ignore my texts for exactly 6 hours, then respond with something brief and uninterested. He'd cancel our dinner dates, but always suggested rescheduling for later in the week, keeping me hanging on. He'd be affectionate for exactly 10 minutes when we hung out, then abruptly go back to being distant and checking his phone. It was too precise to be genuine emotional distance. Real relationship problems don't follow mathematical patterns like that. I started paying close attention to the timing of everything he did, taking notes on my phone about his behavior patterns. I also noticed he'd been spending unusual amounts of time on his laptop, quickly closing windows when I walked by. One day, when he was in the shower, I checked his browser history and found searches for things like how to make her chase you and create attraction through scarcity and hot and cold dating strategy. That's when I understood exactly what was happening. Jake was using some pickup artist manipulation technique he'd learned online. The distant behavior wasn't natural. It was a calculated strategy designed to make me desperate for his attention. Instead of confronting him about it, I decided to play along while secretly working on something else. I started acting like his strategy was working perfectly, sending longer texts when he was brief, suggesting more dates when he canceled, generally seeming more eager and needy for his approval. But I was also spending time with someone Jake didn't know about, someone who'd been right there the whole time, watching Jake's behavior and getting increasingly disgusted by what he was seeing, someone who actually treated me like a human being instead of a psychology experiment. We'd started talking more after I mentioned Jake's weird behavior, just casual conversations at first, but those talks revealed someone who was everything Jake was pretending to be. Confident without being manipulative, interested without playing games, honest instead of strategic about feelings. Our conversations moved from casual to deeper topics, and I realized I was looking forward to these interactions more than anything with Jake. While Jake was busy calculating response times and planning his next manipulation move, I was discovering what genuine connection actually felt like. The person understood what Jake was doing because he'd seen this kind of behavior before. He was appalled that anyone would treat a relationship like a chess game instead of just being authentic. We started meeting more often, and I felt more valued in those moments than I had in months with Jake. Last week, Jake showed up at my apartment unannounced, probably thinking his hot and cold strategy had run its full course, and it was time to reel me back in with renewed attention. He walked in using his spare key and found us cooking dinner together, laughing and completely comfortable with each other. Jake's face went white when he realized who I was with, and that's when I told him exactly what I thought of his manipulation tactics and introduced him to his older brother Marcus, who'd already replaced him in every way that mattered.